India jubilant in Adelaide. 31 runs is fine margins in Test match cricket, but it gives Virat Kohli's men a lead in this 4-match series. They went into this day as favourites to do the job, but Sean Marsh and Travis Head in the morning put up some resilience. Tim Paine in the middle, and then the last three that put on 104 together, the last three wickets, to make sure that there were some nerves for India. In the end, the wickets were distributed as 31 runs marks the difference between Australia and India. To sum up, an exciting, extraordinary Test match on ESPN Cricket for Matchday. Virat, Hodge and VVS Lakshman. Let me go to you first, Lakshman. Delighted for India, the better team over the course of, what, 4.5 days winning this Test match?
Yeah, definitely delighted for India, but it was expected, because I said that before the start of this series and still maintain that they are the favourites to win this series, But, we have to congratulate the determination and the grit shown by Pat Cummins, then Nathan Lyon, before that Mitchell Starc and Tim Paine. And they say they came so close, and it was too much close for my liking or comfort of any Indian fan, because you don't expect the tail to wag so long. Yes, I understand that the wicket was very slow. It was a good batting surface and the bowlers bowled their heart out. But I really admired the grit and determination shown by the Australian tailenders.
Now, Hodgie, are there a few Aussie batsmen in that dressing room now just thinking to themselves after patting Nathan Lyon and Josh Hazlewood, gee, if only we'd put on a little more?
Yeah, well, the tailenders showed the top order, how it can be done with trusting your technique and having some skill. And yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities that have been missed in this, this Test match in terms of Australia's batting. It was a good wicket. VVS has constantly mentioned that it's a good wicket, it's a good batting surface. And, if only one of those top order had gone on to score significantly in this second innings, then, would have had a better shot. It was only Sean Marsh that passed 30 and no one else could actually go on with it. So the difference for me in the game was for sure Pujara and going on to score a Test match century.
Just towards the end of the match, Hodgie, did you feel like it was getting a little easier for Australia? India not quite sure about their fields or giving Josh Hazlewood the single on offer. Can we to some degree say that India helped this match get as close as it was?
Yeah, look, it certainly started to heat up. The crowd started to get into it. There was a lot more excitement from the Australian side of the fans. The Swami Army were busy all day, but you could sense that the 2.5-hour session at the start of play, and then the extra half an hour tacked on because the 9 wickets out, you could see that the Indians were just starting to get a little bit tired. Ashwin had bowled consistently all day with limited rest. The quicks operated for 2.5 hours, and you could sense that Virat Kohli, even though he was trying to keep calm, was just starting to feel a little bit of pressure, and the Aussies' belief was starting to increase as well. It was a pretty cool finish to a Test match.
A couple of dropped chances added to that drama, both Pat Cummins and then Nathan Lyon. But just to capture how this day went on, you've been saying throughout that it's been a good pitch to bat on. Yeah. So is it just two batting teams that are struggling to get top form and everything getting going, or two bowling units that have kept batting in check for an extraordinary amount of time this Test?
I think there's no doubt that the bowlers have done a tremendous job. This was not an ideal wicket for the bowlers. You had to bowl with a lot of discipline and patience. You can't just run through a batting side. And both the sides bowling unit have shown their discipline. Except probably I still think that Mitchell Starc was not at his best. But having said that, when the tailenders of Australia can do that, when Pujara can do that, can show that if you are patient, if you can grind it out, then runs are there for the taking on this wicket as well. So it's not about going out and playing with the natural flair, flamboyance. There's some wickets where you have to grind, and when you're playing at the international cricket, you have to adjust your game based on the conditions you're confronting. But there's a lot of lessons to be learned, for both the batting sides. For India, On the first day, the first 1 hour, the loose shots they played, when it demanded to show more discipline, more grit, more patience, especially when you're playing the first innings of the Test series, especially when you know that the plan of the opposition bowling lineup is to get a nick. They were bowling in the channel or the corridor of uncertainty, some loose shots away from the body. And then same with Australia. The top order played, didn't gifted away the wickets to the Indian bowlers. Yes, the Indian bowlers built a lot of pressure, but you see the way Harris got out, Finch not reviewing the decision, the way Khwaja threw away his wicket, Peter Hanscom did that, and then the way India had that brilliant initiative, especially when Pujara and Rahane had that wonderful partnership, but to lose 5 wickets, last 5 wickets for just 29 runs, and we mentioned at the end of the third day that can prove costly, and it almost proved costly for Team India. So all these things are something to learn and take going forward. I think the batting group of both the sides should realize that we cannot depend only on the bowlers.
Now, if you did follow India's expeditions in England or even South Africa, you would know that this has been a problem. Therefore, your eyes would have been raised when you would have been a bit nervous when the lower order came in and started showing up some fight, because as far as India go against the lower order this year, against numbers 8 to 11 in tests in 2018, India actually have the poorest bowling average. And I don't have Ajit Agarkar here to try and explain why that happens, but I'm trying to still figure it. It's not just when you know the game's with you. We've seen in England many times India were in control and then some low rear guard action took the game away from them. What happens, VVS, at a time when you've got all of it? Can concentration levels just drop?
I think concentration levels should not drop. But the thing is, when you take the top 6 batsmen out, and get their wickets, invariably as a bowler, the mindset is to run through the tail. And in trying to do that, sometimes you'll not stick to your game plan. Sometimes you may lose patience, or you try too many things. And in the bargain, a partnership developed, and that's exactly what happened when India toured England. Because majority of the games, they were 4 or 5 wickets down, and someone like Sam Curran comes and scores a half century, and then slowly turns the tide towards the home team. And it's more about executing your game plan. Like today, as the partnership between Cummins and Nathan Lyon was building, you could make out that the bowlers were trying too many things in trying to get that wicket. And it does happen. But when the top 5 get out, I think it's important to stick to the basics. The reason why you got the top 5 wickets is the way you want to continue rest of the innings as well. So just losing that patience allows the tailenders to score runs, and this is something which India doesn't afford in this tour, especially because the top order looks inexperienced. The top order of Australia looks that they don't have a game plan or clarity about how to go out and get runs. But the way the tailenders have applied, they were more assured than the top order batsmen. You see the way Pat Cummins batted in the second innings, Nathan Lyon batted in both the innings. Mitchell Starc, even though both the innings he got out playing the big shot. Tim Payne can bat with patience. So I think the bottom half of Australia looks more assured than the top half of Australia as far as batting is concerned.
Well, they put on more than half the runs, did the final 5 wickets. So VVS Lakshman's point being made. And now, in spite of how resilient the lower order was, and maybe that takes the sheen away a little from the Pacers' performance in this Test match, but we just look at the bowlers and do a further assessment of them. And we did ask Brad Hodge and VVS at lunchtime today whether they feel that the Pacers from India have outbowled those from Australia, and the numbers tend to suggest that 14 wickets at 23 for India's Pacers, Hodgie, and 11 wickets at just under 28 for Australia's. We're also going to just focus on their lengths in a bit. Now, when India came here, they knew that maybe they expected their batting to at least better or match the Australian batting, but I think they'll be taking a lot away that they've managed for their bowlers to outbowl the Australian bowlers.
And I think they have, and I think those figures show, or stats show, that the Indians have come here with a specific game plan to pitch the ball up and challenge the stumps and techniques of the Australians, and they certainly did that. And like VVS said, apart from Mitchell Starc, I think all other fast bowlers within this game have been outstanding. Mitchell probably just wasn't at his best, but when he is, he's first class. And I think what we've got though is 6 serious pace bowlers on the park at one time in Starc, Hazlewood and Cummins, Ishant, Bumrah and Shami. And, when they're going and when they're bowling at their best, they're really good to watch. And to partner that with Nathan Lyon and Ashwin, you've got 2 very good test attacks. And one of the other things which we're pushing these guys to strive harder is Bhuvaneshwar Kumar and Umesh Yadav, who are sitting in the wings waiting, and they're such talented bowlers that they could find their way easy into this team. So, yeah, that presence of mind about those guys who want to push for selection, make sure that those guys on the park keep pushing and pushing, and they delivered in spades. They're outstanding.
So what's going to be the difference as the series gets deeper? There's been a lot of bowling in this test match, nearly 200 plus overs for both teams in a 4-man attack. Will it be about who holds up better over the long summer?
Well, it's all about batting. And I believe that, as Audrey rightly mentioned, that both the lineups are very good. The advantage India has is they've got reserve in Bhuvaneshwar Kumar and Umesh Yadav, who can straight away come and replace the 3 pacers who played in this game. But I'm not sure how much depth they've got, Australia have got in their bowling department. But having said that, I think it depends on how the batsmen play to their potential. And if you compare the talent of the batsmen, Indian batsmen and the Australian batsmen, there's no doubt that Indian batsmen are more experienced, more established and more talented than the Australian batting lineup. But it's only about translating that talent and potential into performances. And you have to have collective batting performances. You cannot just depend on 1 or 2 batsmen, but you should have at least 3 or 4 batsmen contributing in each innings, which didn't happen in this test match. But going forward, I think whichever batting unit scores above par, especially in the first innings, ends up winning the test match, because the bowlers have just done a fantastic job, and they'll continue to do that because there's so much of class in the bowling department.
There are some questions coming in, and I'm sure a lot of you are tuning in now on a Monday morning, just getting into work perhaps. This one from Bharat for VVS. Which victory would you rate better, 2003? I think VVS remembers which one that is, or what the bowlers did today, which is not quite our forte. It's a good point that Bharatwaj Samaveda makes, VVS.
I think, see, both the victories, I'm not trying to be diplomatic here, but both the victories are sweet, because when you go out and play and beat Australia in their own backyard, or any overseas test match you win, it feels very special for a player, whether a former player like me or the current player like the current Indian team is. But having said that, I would definitely regard the 2003-4, because the quality of that Australian team was totally different. They were experienced. Steve was playing his last test series, and what we were on the first day, 400 for I think 4 or 5 Australia. When we started batting, 80 for 4, and to come back, and the way Ajit Agarkar bowled in the second innings, and then Rahul batted beautifully and won us the game. So I think
and
for
it was
me,
a chase after all, a 4th innings
chase, but I think me being part of that test match, that was special for me. But if you ask any current Indian team, this win will be special.
I just thought you were getting off the diplomatic fence, but now you leveled them both.
Yeah, but the quality of that Australian team
can't be
especially the batting unit. Sure. I mean, from number 1 to number 7, everyone could bat and score runs, and that too big runs.
Yeah. Why pick? I think we'll just pick Adelaide as India's favourite.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant to know.
That's all that we should. No wonder it starts here, not in Brisbane. But if we are talking about similarities between 2003 and 2018, it has to come down to just that one man with the bat. Now India's number 3 made 150 in that game, as he did in this one. And Tim Payne said it, Hodgie, at the post-match presentation. Cheteshwar Pujara was the difference between the two sides.
Look, there's no doubt he was the difference. He was outstanding, and similar to 2003 when Rahul Dravid, I think, made 200 and then made 70 in the second innings. Pujara, probably the best he's batted. In fact, someone mentioned that this is the longest he's ever batted in a test match, and he was superb. Ever since ball 1, he just carried on. He pushed the run rate up at the end of play on day 1, and then come back and back it up in the second innings was the difference, because he went on to get 100, and no one else in the game actually even looked like posting 100. So it was an outstanding individual performance. I'll also say that Rishabh Pant, that his efforts behind the stumps were outstanding as well. He's 1 wicket away from, or 1 catch away from breaking the all-time record of catches behind the wicket.
He has only himself to blame for not claiming that record, Audrey. The one catch that did challenge him a little bit, he couldn't hold on to. But I'm guessing he'll only get better.
Yeah, I mean, it's 6 test matches, for the young kid. And, if you ask him about this test match, I'm sure he'll have fond memories, and it can only get better. And if you're a wicket keeper, you know, Australia is a good place to wicket keep. The ball generally comes, you know, in areas up above your waist where, you know, catching the ball seems to be good. But he was outstanding behind the stumps, apart from that one blemish at the end there.
To speak of Pujara, though, and bring it back to India's batting, I mean, how satisfying would it be for this team that without Virat Kohli getting the runs, they've managed to put up a steady enough batting performance to secure a test win?
Yeah, very satisfying. You know, and especially someone like Pujara, who's going to play a very important role in this series, because again mentioned that the top three has got a huge responsibility when you're playing in overseas conditions. However, the wicket can be batting friendly. But I think if I break down that innings, it's not only about the number of balls you played, but the situational awareness which he showed. You know, when the wickets were falling around him, especially when the Australian fast bowlers were trying to pitch the ball up, trying to induce the Indian batsmen to play off the front foot through the cover region, through the mid-off region. Not many shots went through the offside in that region. So he was very, very restrictive as far as his stroke play was concerned, and it took his time, consumed a lot of deliveries, then built a partnership, even though the partnership was not substantial. And the second important thing was the way he accelerated when he batted with the tail. And that's a different Pujara for me I have seen on this tour. The previous one was against New Zealand at Indore, when India were looking to declare against the spinners, and that has been his forte, how he plays the spinners. He started playing unconventional shots which I've never seen Pujara play before. But here for the first time I saw Pujara pull, hook and also play the uppercut.
You saw some of it in England too, Southampton.
Uppercut, but the way he accelerated and farmed the strike, you know, that is so important, and not very often a number 3 batsman gets to play with the tail. So I think that was something very special. The other thing which was very special was the way he negated the effectiveness of Nathan Lyon.
Of course,
you know, the way he used his feet, almost pushing Nathan Lyon a yard or two towards him, you know, and making sure that he bowls little more short pitch deliveries compared to the usual length you see Nathan Lyon bowling. And that was so important, keeping in mind that there was a rough in front of Pujara or the right hand batsman. So these 3 aspects of Pujara's batting was something which I am really excited seeing, you know, because what you want from the batsman is while you go about getting runs for yourself, slowly you're inspiring your teammates, and that's what Pujara has done in this test match.
That's a good point you make, because Ajinkya Rahane tried it as well then, and that one partnership you'd say was what sealed India's solidity or control over this game. And Rahane was struggling against Moeen Ali in England. You see Pujara finding a way. You can feed off that, can't you?
You do that, you know, and then you start discussing and you throw various ideas, and you know, amongst yourself you discuss what is the best method, and then each individual will stick to his own game plan and stick to what works for him. But having said that, it's great, you know, and I totally agree with you, because over the last 2 series, India have been overly dependent on Virat Kohli. And in both the innings, Virat Kohli didn't get runs, but still India went on to win the match thanks to Pujara's brilliant effort and the way the bowlers have contributed.
You know, Pujara will remember this for a long time, and what a start to a long summer to get 100 and a 50 to kick things off. So well done to Cheteshwar Pujara. Lots of questions coming in, as I can imagine. It's a happy day. It's not that India takes leads in test matches overseas very often. This is from Shrirup Mukund on our Facebook Live page. What will happen when the top order collapses? Is the middle order still that strong that they can finish high? Who, according to you, can take the place of UV, Kaif or Dhoni in the middle order? Okay, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure if it's for limited overs or for test cricket. But I'll take
You're very
the point.
cheeky, man.
I'll take the point for if Pujara and Kohli fail. I think there are questions before and after still. You should focus on still things that can improve for India.
See, again, I reiterate saying that the batsmen have got potential, and that includes the lower order batsmen. Now, someone like Ashwin is coming at number 8. Now, Ashwin has got, I think, 4 test centuries. You know, and he has done that, against West Indies, but he has done when the situation was tough and conditions, especially I remember the 100 he got against them in St. Lucia. He along with the Saha on a green top, where the ball was seaming around, swinging around. So it's all about applying yourself. You know, again, 5 wickets for 29 doesn't do justice to the lower order capability as a batsman. Shami can bat, except for Bumrah. I think everyone in that batting lineup can stick around there. Ishant Sharma has played so many important knocks for Team India. So it's only about believing in yourself and making sure that you value your wicket. And if you're not valuing your wicket, then you're not doing justice to yourself and the team. But there is potential. You know, I use the word potential a lot with this Indian team because when you see a player, you can judge whether that player is capable of performing at the highest level or not. And in this Indian team, there's no doubt that the players who are there can perform, but it's just translating that potential into performances, which hasn't been the case in the batting department. It's been brilliant with the bowling, but not so consistent with the batting. Overseas conditions.
How things change for Indian cricket. We're relying on the fast bowlers, but the questions of improvement will stay on the batsmen. There are some questions for Brad Hodge too for Australia, and I'm sure there would be Jessica Joseph. Is Aaron Finch the best option to open for Australia? Hodgie?
Well, look, not in my opinion, actually. I think he's more suited to down the order, and I think that'll be one of the questions which, you know, Justin Langer and his team will have to look at, especially going forward to Perth, where I think that Aaron Finch is more suited to the middle order. Having said that, though, he's picked to open and he'll be challenged in Perth. But for me, I think there's an opportunity to push Usman Khawaja up. I don't think they should change the team, but they can push Usman Khawaja up, who's a traditionally opening batsman. Sean Marsh can possibly move to 3, Peter Hanscom and Finch slide in at 5 or 6 behind Travis Head. So for me, especially where the ball's going to be moving at Perth, it's definitely a question that'll be asked, and we'll have to wait for the next 3 days to see what happens. But he's definitely under pressure. You know, realistically, he should have got 2 ducks if Ishant Sharma didn't overstep the mark. So there are questions that are going to be asked, and we'll have to see what the Australians do.
Well, realistically, he should have still been batting, but for that bizarre choice to not review. Have you managed to bump into Finch? I know you know him well, and ask him why on earth he didn't go up for that.
Yeah, I think it's this nice guy attitude which the Australians are going for. He sort of said that he didn't want to give the impression that he was, you know, trying to be selfish for himself, where, you know, knowing that he's under pressure. So, yeah, that's just the mindset. He's such a great guy, Finchy, but, you know, in that sense, we really needed him to, if there's any questions at all, if there's any doubt, especially the top order bat, you've got to question it. So that was just the mind frame, you know, that he was in.
I'm not sure this goes in the bracket of elite honesty, Finchy, that all of the rest of the world is taking the dig at the Aussies for, but it's a nice start for Aaron Finch to try and put the good guy approach out. Let's see one more for Brad Hodge. Questions pouring in for both VVS and Hodgie. I can see that on our Facebook Live, and we'll try and take as many as we look back at this fascinating test match. Kostub Krishnamurthy, what's different in the way players are taking on the bouncer? India seemed comfortable, and Head, Payne and Hanscom going down to bouncers. This seems so different to the last 25 years, or is it just the confidence? Yeah, we saw that, a few Aussie batsmen getting hit on the helmet and whatnot. Hodgie, observations?
Yeah, for me it was the change in direction, actually. So, or the unpredictability of the Indian quicks. You know, what they did, they pitched the ball right up. So when the bouncer came, it was a surprise. And you saw the effort of Ishant Sharma. You know, there was 5 balls pitched up and around off stump that, you know, was there for Travis Head to decide whether he wanted to play or not to play. And then the real effort ball, the short ball, which caught the batsman by surprise. That's the difference, I think. Instead of consistently short, where a batsman can, you know, get used to the pace and bounce, this was a better method of full short ball. So it did catch the Australian batsmen off guard. But, yeah, they're all good short players of the ball, but credit to the Indian bowlers.
VVS, if you look at the 3 sets of seamers, is it fair to say there's more variety in India, even though there's a left armour in the Aussie side? Between Shami, Bumrah and Ishant, they just offer something different.
It's the same with Australia as well.
Australia.
Yeah, absolutely, because Pat Cummins is totally different to Hazlewood, and then Mitchell Starc is totally different with being left arm over the wicket, creates a different angle. So there is a lot of variety. With India, I think there is that extra pace, which we didn't see consistently from the Australian pacers. You know, so it's again a surprise, you know, because you expect Australian pacers to be more fit, stronger than the Indian pacers. But credit to the Indian pacers that they've they've really worked hard on their fitness. You know, over the last 2 to 3 years, they've been doing a lot of strength training, power training, and I think that's really helped them to bowl consistently at a good pace. But coming back to that that question about short pitch deliveries, I just think that the ability of the players, you know, the ability of the current Australian batting, I'm not really sure, you know, whether they can play consistently good test match bowling, you know, quality of the Indian pacers. I mean, we just hope that they get better. We can't always tell that they are inexperienced. We can't tell that they are yet to learn how to play against quality bowling, because when you're representing your country, you're supposed to be ready, and Australians have grown up on wickets which are seamer friendly, and where short pitch deliveries is something which you get to face a lot more than the swinging ball or the full ball. So I think it's just the ability and the technique of this Australian batsman is something which is questionable.
Okay, let's just take one more question then on our post show on ESPN Cricket for Match Day. Happy times on a Monday for India, and Debajyoti Sharma with a question to the very, very special Lakshman. Should India make a change to the playing 11 for the next
Don't be cheeky.
test?
Just tell next test.
Yes, particularly number 6. We don't know if Prithvi Shaw will be fit, but is there a reason to want to make a change?
As I told at the start of this test match, you know, you can't chop and change just with one test match. You know, you have to give confidence to the players on whom you have reposed faith. So I think the same playing 11 should be able to play. If Prithvi Shaw is fit, then probably he comes in place of Murli Vijay. But having said that, I think the same playing 11 should play. And I just hope that if Prithvi Shaw is fit, he has to be 100% fit.
Yes.
Because he had a bad twist to his ankle, and I'm not sure whether he'll be ready in 1 week or 10 days time. You shouldn't rush him, because there's still a lot of cricket left in the young man's career. So I think when you're out there against Australia, you want all the 11 players to be 100% fit. So I wouldn't change the playing 11. And why would you? You won the test match. You wouldn't change at all or think on those terms.
Yeah, they have the luxury of knowing that they have a 1-0 lead in this series, so maybe they don't need to quite make any haphazard changes to India. One more question for Bradley Hodge, and let's see what we've got for you this time, Hodgie. Looking at this test where Australia will in a rare position of finding themselves behind. That's a good question. How's the new Perth wicket? Is it like the Wacker? Hodgie, what do you know of the new ground? It will be a first test there.
Yeah, I would have been surprised to everyone, but there was an article in the paper today from the curator of the ground which said that the game won't last 4 days. So it could be anything. It could be fast and bouncy. It could be up and down. We'll just have to wait and see. There'll be no home ground advantage for anyone because we're unsure. It's the first test match, and we'll just have to wait and see.
Gee, I'd love to shake the hand of that curator if it comes true. We'll all get a day off for the IPL auction then, which is scheduled on the 5th day of that test match. But all right, let's keep an eye out on whatever we can get from the Wacker. Now, we've had Brad Hodge, VVS and Ajit play their own little game on ESPN Cricket for Match Day. Fab 4, if you've been following the show, is what we call it. They pick 4 players every day, and in a fantasy system, how the player does on that day, the runs they score, the wickets they take, catches, runouts, etc., they get points. And we were trying to figure out who would end up on top, so they picked up different players every day. And I'm delighted to reveal that Brad Hodges had a very good day on day 5. Could be a pivotal day because he picked Jasprit Bumrah, who managed to not only get a couple of wickets but also I think has a few bonus points to his name. Ashwin with 20, Sean Marsh and Travis Head with 32 between them. So 142 points for Hodgie. Let's have a look at VVS Lakshman's next and see how he's done. And in total, it's 72 points. He thought Mohammad Shami would run through the tail, but it didn't quite happen. And Ashwin had to work hard too for his runs. Hodgie and VVS picked only one different player. They were the ones in the race. We'll just show you the consolation prize, Ajit Agarkar's points for today. 180 points. I'll tell you what that might do, VVS. 180 is a lot of points because Ajit had caught up in the earlier session. Let me quickly look at the leaderboard. My God, he's pipped you at the very end, VVS, for the silver medal. So 622 for Lakshman, 639 for Agarkar, and we have an unprecedented winner. If Australia may not have won the test, at least they've won Fab 4. Brad Hodge, congratulations, well done. There are bigger selections maybe that could use your services.
Well, yeah, I mean, consolation prize. At least we won something today, I guess, eh?
And VVS, what happened there? We have to send Ajit a text and tell him you've managed to
Ajit is calling you.
No.
Is it? I saw Ajit's number there on your phone.
But you'll have your chance in the next
test.
test match.
I always love coming back.
Yes, of course, he will be there. Let's just wrap up this test succinctly with both VVS and Hodgie. Hodgie, if I am to ask you just key moments where this test perhaps turned. Was it just India getting to 250 in the first innings after being in the position that they were? Were there other moments that you felt that that were pivotal when you look at the conclusion of this test match?
I think there were a couple. I think late on day one in the second new ball when Mitchell Starc wasn't his best and Pujara was able to get a few cut shots out, a few pull shots, a few uppercuts, and the scoring went quickly when it really was in the balance. In the second innings again, the extras for Australia are up around 31. So, those runs were, crucial, I guess. And then India letting Australia back in with those quick wickets, late in the second innings where they could have put it right out of Australia's grasp. So those were sort of three pivotal moments which, left it in the balance, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good point. He makes 36 extras in that second innings, 21 byes, and we've got 2 wides in them. So that's something you could look back in a test match of fine margins. But what else, VVS? You look back as his test as key moments that perhaps decided the course of the match.
I think Pujara's knock,
Yes,
especially after India were tattering at 4 wickets down for nothing. But I feel Australia lost the initiative when they didn't take or capitalize on the chances they had. After getting the team which won the toss elected to bat for 250 runs, you expect them to take at least a 50-75 runs lead, and then you dictate the terms. But Australia lost the chance there by poor batting performance. So that for me was the biggest turning point, and from then on it was India's game to lose. It was not Australia who would go on to win. But I think the poor batting performance by Australia in the first innings was the biggest turning point. And from India's point of view, I think the way Pujara played in the first innings and the Pujara-Rahane partnership in the second innings, I think this was very crucial for India, at least giving them a challenging chase.
And just looking ahead to the WACA now in a little while's time, you mentioned you wouldn't want to change the team too much, Hodgie, but if we are going to see, if we do take the curator on his word, would there be case to reinforce? Would there be place for Mitchell Marsh? Would you look at finding somebody else to just add a little more solidity to the batting?
No, maybe you can have a look at an opener. Maybe Joe Burns, Matty Renshaw hasn't got any runs. So they're the 2 prime openers that aren't in the test side. But all in all, I think that if you pick the side for the first test, you've got to run with him for the second test and give the guys an opportunity to fight back.
All right. Well, that's for Australia then, looking forward. And as far as India go, VVS, 1-0 lead is not something that India has had the luxury of having overseas in the South Africa, England, New Zealand, Australia conditions. Happened in South Africa, you were part of that series. Happened in New Zealand, you were part of that series. They lost the series in 1 and managed to hold on. What would you like for this team to sort of show or resolve now that they have this huge advantage of a 1-0 lead?
Yeah, not to lose that opportunity or the momentum. Because in the past, what happened was, whenever, including the teams I was part of, whenever the team was in good position, the next test match was very important to start off on a positive note. But unfortunately, it didn't happen in the past. So I think it's a great opportunity for India to start on a winning note. But what I think when you're playing at this level and when you know that you are the favourites, you're not thinking too much about the results. You're breaking down into did you achieve your targets or not. So as a batting group, they will realize that they didn't achieve the targets they must have set for themselves. But as a bowling group, they did really well. So it's only about improving your own performance, not really think about what the opposition team is doing. Because when you're the #1 test playing nation in world cricket, you have to play like #1. So that's more about introspecting your own performances, not really think about the outcome. And once India do that, and they improve in each and every department 5-10%, and in batting department probably 30 to 40%, they will easily win this series.
Conversely, Hodgie, I'm sure there'll be plenty written in the Australian press now about the fact that this Australian team has so many questions about it, and now that India have taken a 1-0 lead, you know how much Virat Kohli likes to be in the face of the press, and he will rub this lead in further. This is going to be a huge test now for Australia to come back.
A huge test, and the only thing that's a benefit for us is we'll be going to the WACA, where we do have a successful record there, I guess, and it's a new stadium. But 1-0 lead. I think we got the opportunity to fight back. But if they show that sort of fight that they did today, that's the character in which all the support staff and all the public will be happy about. So, good credit, but we need to come back pretty strong.
I think also it will be interesting to see how Tim Payne will react to this loss, because as a captain you always face the heat, and also the shot he played today after lunch, immediately after lunch. So I think he will be under tremendous pressure, like the way he has been since the time he's taken the role of captaincy. So that will be really interesting how Tim Payne, the leadership group of Australia, will react to this defeat, what messages they're communicating to the members of the team, I think that will be very interesting to see the leadership qualities of Tim Payne and Justin Langer.
Yeah, Justin Langer not used to losing in his time as a player, and he's already said quite a few things in the build-up to this series. So it should make for some fascinating narrative, which always tends to accompany an India-Australia series. Now, before we leave you on the final moments of this show, Hodgie, you've done well on winning the Fab 4 leaderboard for this Test match. So the prize for you is going to be VVS Lakshman's recently released book. It's his story in his words. I've already had the pleasure of reading it, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So I'm going to ask Lakshman to actually sign you a personalized copy, and then we'll take the trouble of sending it to you before you join us again in this series. So is that a good enough prize, Mr. Hodge?
You know what I'll do? I can't wait to read it. I'm sure it's a great publication. I'll quickly get a book out and publicise myself. When Lakshman wins in Perth, I'll happily sign one and send one to him.
And I will be looking forward to reading your book, especially the time you spend with Kochi Tuskers.
And conversely, Hodgie, once you're done with the book, feel free to pass it on to Greg Chappell for a quick read if you'd like to read it as well. I'm sure he'd make for that. All right, Brad Hodge, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us on ESPN Cricket for Match Day, and let's look forward to your company again in this series. Lakshman, always a pleasure, and a lovely result to accompany you. We had some tough times in the England series. We had to wait till we get a result, but we've got
start
one.
by Team India. I just hope that they continue keeping the momentum towards themselves.
Absolutely. We'll see you again for the second Test, VVS.
Cheers.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for your company through these early starts. But now that India have taken the lead, I'm sure the interest will be reinvigorated in this series going forward. Perth has a slightly different time zone, so make sure you download the ESPN Cricket Info mobile app and check out exactly what time play starts in whichever region you are. The story from the Adelaide Oval is that Virat Kohli has become the first Indian captain to win a Test in England, South Africa and Australia in the same calendar year. This one more significant because it gives India a 1-0 lead in this series.